Good morning. This is Pastor Ezekiel Johnson with Great Commission Pentecostal Church, and I'm here with a word of encouragement, and I think it's needed. We are in trying times in our country, and a lot of times there are forces manipulating our mood and our actions. We're in control of our actions ultimately, but there are certain forces that know how to use the power of suggestion to increase what happens in our lives, what we end up doing, actions that we take, thoughts that we think about given situations. Think about this. The day before George Floyd died, was your life any different than it is today? A lot of people with that event blew it up to mean a lot more than it actually does. Now, of course, I'm African American. I have friends. I've never personally had a problem with police. Just haven't. I'm just being honest. There are friends of mine, relatives of mine that have. And I've heard the stories over the years. Now, I'm not suggesting anything because I don't know those situations. Every situation is different with every person that, happens to be a police officer or a person that encounters a police officer. So I can't really speak to those situations. But I have to say this, that I know that over the course of time, there has been problems that have surfaced. Some things perhaps one may say are systemic, but at the same time, there are still situations that get categorized and people that get lumped into a certain category just because of their race. And the irony of that is that Martin Luther King, the person that perhaps had the most impact on racial relations in this country in a positive way, he stated that we should be judged by the content of our character, not the color of our skin. But what happens is many times when people have allowed it to be suggested to them that everybody of a certain race or even of a certain occupation happens to have the same misguided feelings and perhaps are racist or whatever other term or label is thrown on a person. You see, the most unfair thing that we can do to each other is label. It's one thing to have a solid basis to label somebody. And it's another thing altogether to just label them just because of things that they can't control, such as what they are. You're a police officer. Doesn't mean they're bad. The whole institution of policing is to keep order in society. We all want order. We don't want the drug dealers and all the folks out there that are taking advantage of people and doing things criminally to be in charge of everything. That would be insane. Hopefully we all can agree on that. But at the same time, we have to also not allow ourselves to be swayed by somebody's opinion that has a different motive altogether than we have. One thing's at issue, and one thing alone. Not every racial thing that you can throw into that bag, into that mix, because when you do that, you lose sight of the real issue, and it never, ever, ever gets resolved. All you have is a bunch of complaints that you move forward with, you have people in common with, and you have anger against people that maybe haven't done a thing to you. Now that just brings the biblical element into the picture. Jesus said, "You have heard that thou shalt not commit murder or kill." He says, but if you have anger in your heart against your brother without a cause. Now, if you make up a cause, or if you falsely attach a label to somebody, or you falsely accuse somebody, you've just made it up. Even though you probably didn't intend to, but the fact that you label everybody, you categorize everybody that looks that way, that does that occupation or whatever in that same mold, and you decide that you're going to hate them and your cause is unjust, or you really don't have a cause. God says you're in danger of judgment. It's not me saying it. It's not anybody else saying it. It's what the book says. So we have to be careful in this labeling of other people that we're properly doing that, if there's a cause that that person has done, I mean, that's not convenient. It takes some work to separate everybody from the labels that society wants to throw on them so society can tell you to hate that person. But society is going to put you in jeopardy, if you're not careful, of judgment. I don't think anybody wants to be there. I think we want to live in a society where we are getting along with one another. And I dare say, many of the people that have been castigated, have been stigmatized since the George Floyd incident, a day before, many people that have had these thoughts against them, that they were evil, racist, or out to get them or whatever, the day before, they didn't have those thoughts. It's just that when this event took place, others were able to capitalize on it and cause, by the power of suggestion, for you to throw everybody and stereotype, thing that we hate, stereotyping. You know, we hate it on a racial level, but people do the same thing. So whenever you decide to handle something, you know, with violence, and your emotions are high, your judgment is low, and so therefore you're not perceiving the situation or the people right. Today we need to step back. We need to ask God to help us to do things his way, to look at our fellow man. The Bible says this about our relations with other people. He says, as you would have them treat you, treat them. And that's what I'm going to leave you with. This is Pastor Ezekiel Johnson saying, God bless you. Have a wonderful day.